Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Lizzie Papaseko, and I'm the girl that reads the Bible. So I read the Bible from the book of Genesis in comparison to the book of Jasher. That is the series that I'm doing right now. So the Bible that I read from is the NKJV, and I read it alongside the Sifa. So if you're interested in reading the apocryphal books yourself, in the description box I have a link to the apocryphal book that is recommended. It is in the description box, and it is sold on Amazon. And another thing that I wanted to say is the series started with Genesis 1 and Jasher 1. However, the YouTube channel that I used to post on got deleted by YouTube, so therefore the first few videos are available on the backup Brigteon page, which is on Brigteon. So the link to that series, where it starts from Genesis 1 Genesis 1 and Jasher 1, is also in the description box. So therefore, without wasting any further time, let us read. I'm gonna start in the book of Jasher, only because last time I ended in the book of Jasher, so I'm essentially just continuing from where we left off last time. Jasher chapter 8. And it was in the night that Abram was born that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah. And they rejoiced with him on that night. And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes towards heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And all the wise men of the king and his conjurers were astonished at the sight. And the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. And they said to each other, This only signifies the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their land. And the wise men and conjurers went home that night, and in the morning all these wise men and conjurers rose up early and assembled in an appointed house, and they spoke and said to each other, Behold, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the king, it has not been made known to him. And should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, Why have you concealed this matter from me? And then we shall all suffer death. Therefore, now let us go tell the king the sight which we saw and the interpretation thereof, and we shall then remain clear. And they did so, and they went all to the king and bowed down to him to the ground, and they said, May the king live, may the king live. We heard that a son was born to Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of your host, and we yesterday night came to his house, and we ate and drank and rejoiced with him that night. And when your servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for the night, we lifted up our eyes to heaven, and we saw a great star coming from the east, and the same star ran with great speed and swallowed up 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And your servants were astonished at the sight which we saw, and were greatly terrified. And we made our judgment upon the sight, and knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation thereof, that this thing applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly and become powerful, and kill all the kings of the earth and inherit all their lands, he and his seed forever. And now, our Lord and King, behold, we have truly acquainted you with what we have seen concerning this child. If it seems good to the king to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, that we and our children perish through his evil. And the king heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight, and he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the king. So here we hear that when Abram was born to Terah, Terah basically just said, friends, colleagues, let's go celebrate the birth of my son. And they celebrated, it was nice, and then after that they went each to their home. But when they got out of the place that they were celebrating at, they looked to the stars. These are some of them were the colleagues that actually also answered to Nimrod, who was the king at the time. So therefore they were conjurers, they were diviners, they were wise men who could interpret the stars and the sun and the heavenly hosts. They knew by just looking up at the seasons and what everything meant. So therefore they saw a star that actually swallowed up a few stars in the heavenlies, and they knew that, this is pertaining to Abram, this child that is born, the son of Terah that is born this night. And it simply signifies that this child is going to grow to basically overtake kings, and to reign himself as king. So they saw this, and then they went each to their home. And then at some point they thought about it. They were like, guys, let's meet again. And when they met again, they were like, you know what? You saw the terrible thing. Well, it was terrifying to them, because when you see something like that, even in real life, like now, right, like even now, like not in real life, but now, like in this era, when you know that someone is so gifted, it has that amazing, and like you almost marvel, right? So they were terrified at this, and they were like, you know what we saw yesterday, and we didn't say anything to the king, and should the king find out, we are the ones who are going to die. So therefore let's go and tell the king what we saw that night. And therefore they went to the king, and they told the king everything, that we saw a star, the star swallowed the other stars. It shows that this child that is born, the son that is born to Terah, son of Nahor, Abraham, is going to be a mighty great king who's going to overtake a few kings, right, or all the kings. So they went to the king, and they said, they even went as far as suggesting, because they went to the king, before the king could say anything, they already said to the king, we suggest that we just kill the lad. Let's kill this child so that this thing does not happen to us, because if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, it will definitely happen to our children who are going to be born to us. And Nimrod heard this and was like, you know what? Yes, valid. I hear you. Let's do it the way you say. And therefore now it says that Nimrod was called before, not Nimrod, but Terah was called before the king so that the king can, say what the king needs to say to him. So I'm going to continue now from verse 15. And the king said to Terah, I have been told that a son was yesternight born to you, and after this manner was observed in the heavens at his birth. And now therefore give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us, and I will give you for his value your house full of silver. And Terah answered the king and said to him, my lord and king, I have heard your words, and your servant shall do all that his king desires. But my lord and king, I will tell you what happened to me yesternight, that I may see what advice the king will give his servant, and I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken. And the king said, speak. And Terah said to the king, Ayon, son of Mored, came to me yesternight, saying, give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave you, and I will give you silver and gold and straw and provender for its value. And I said to him, wait till I see the king concerning your words, and behold, whatsoever the king says, that I will do. And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to you, and the advice which my king will give unto his servant, that will I follow. And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. And the king answered Terah, and he said, are you silly, so ignorant, or deficient in understanding, to do this thing, to give your beautiful horse for silver, gold, or even straw and provender? Are you so short of silver and gold that you should do this thing, because you cannot obtain straw and provender to feed your horse? And what silver what is silver and gold to you, or straw and provender, that you should give away the fine horse which I the fine horse which I gave you, like which there is none to be had on the whole earth. And the king left off speaking, and Terah answered the king, saying, like unto this has the king spoken to his servant. So therefore, the king was like, Terah, I heard that there was something that happened, and I know that your child, your son Abram, is going to be so great, right? But to darkness, light is evil. So he was like, for us to avoid all of this evil that is going to come via this child, bring this child so that I can kill this child before this evil comes upon us, and I will give you silver and gold. And Terah, being wise, calm, non-reactive, like very calm spirited, was like, you know what, king, I hear you. You are my king, I hear you. But I just want to tell you something that happened to me. Last night, there's a man who came to me. He came saying to me, give me the horse that you, King Nimrod, gave me. And he said, for this horse he's going to give me silver and gold, right? And straw and provender, meaning the things that the horse eats or needs, right? And the king was like, are you a fool? Are you mad? Are you crazy? You want to tell me that you don't have silver and gold that much, that you're going to give away that fine horse that you will never find on the earth, that I gave you out of love for you to have, for silver and gold, and also provender and straw? Like, really? And Terah was like, you know what, king? Listen to me. So I'm going to continue reading now from verse... I'm going to continue reading from verse 25. And the king left off speaking, and Terah answered the king, saying, like unto this has the king spoken to his servant. I beseech you, my lord and king, what is this which you did say unto me, saying, give your son that we may slay him, and I will give you silver and gold for his value? What shall I do with silver and gold after the death of my son? Who shall inherit me? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it. And when the king heard the words of Terah and the parable which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, and his anger burnt within him. And Terah saw that the anger of the king was kindled against him, and he answered the king, saying, all that I have is in the king's power. Whatsoever the king desires to do to his servants, let him do. Yea, even my son, he is in the king's power, without value in exchange, he and his two brothers that are older than he. And the king said to Terah, no, but I will purchase your younger son for a price. And Terah answered the king, saying, I beseech you, my lord and king, to let your servant speak a word before you, and let the king hear the word of his servant. And Terah said, let my king give me 3 days time, 3 days time till I consider this matter within myself, and consult with my family concerning the words of my king. And he praised the king greatly to agree to this. And the king hearkened to Terah, and he did so, and gave him 3 days time. And Terah went from the king's presence, and he came home to his family, and spoke to them all the words of the king. And the people were greatly afraid. So therefore Terah is like, okay, do you understand that what you're asking me concerning my son is the same as the matter of the horse? Like, you can't, like, how are you asking me to give you my son for silver and gold? My son who's supposed to be my posterity, who's supposed to inherit my stuff, and even that silver and gold that you're going to give me, then he's not even going to be able to inherit it, because then we would have killed him, all right? And the king became very stressed, and the king figured it out that this parable is concerning the son and not the actual horse. And he became very angry and vexed, and was like, you know what, I'm the king, give me that son, blah blah blah. But then Terah was like, because Terah saw that, okay, the king is now getting, like when you interacting with a person of authority who can basically take your life, the person can actually say and set a decree right now and say, off with his head, and right there and then your head will be off. There will be soldiers marching in, boom, 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 in there, taking you and taking where they're gonna basically you, right? So when you're addressing people like this, you need to apply wisdom, and this is exactly what Terah was doing. So Terah basically calmed him down and said, you're the king, my life is subject to you, I'm under your authority, all my children are subject to you, and they also are under your authority, including the son that you want. But the king was adamant and said, no, I want this specific one. Don't tell me about his brothers, the two others. This one is the one that I want. Bring this son to me. And Terah was like, you know what, king, just give me 3 days, please. And the king was like, no. But Terah was like persistent. Please give me 3 days. I need to speak to the wife. I need to speak to uncles and whatnot. Man, this is a big decision to make. Give me just 3 days. Just 3 days, my lord. And finally, Nimrod said, okay, cool, I will give you 3 days, but after 3 days, I want the son here. Not after 3 days, I want your decision. After 3 days, I want that son here, okay? So, indeed, Terah went to the family, and he basically told the family what the king was asking him to do. And the family was afraid, only because it's the king. So if you don't give the king the son, that means we are all dead, basically. That's what the family was afraid of. So yeah, I'm going to continue reading from verse 32. And it was in the 3rd day that the king sent to Terah, saying, send me your son for a price, as I spoke to you. And should you not do this, I will send and slay all you have in your house, so that you shall not even have a dog remaining. And Terah hastened as the thing was urgent from the king, and he took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had born to him the day. And Terah brought the child to the king and received value for him. And the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah, and with his might dashed his head to the ground, for he thought it had been Abram. And this was concealed from him from that day, and it was forgotten by the king, as it was the will of the providence not to suffer Abram's death. And Terah took Abram his son secretly, together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And the Lord was with Abram in the cave, and he grew, and Abram was in the cave 10 years. And the king and his princes, soothsayers, sages, thought the king had killed Abram. So after 3 days, when basically the order of the king was hardened, and it was very urgent, and it's like, the son now, otherwise I will kill you, even your animals in your yard, I will kill them too. And Terah is like, out of panic, took a child that was born of the help. I think it says born of the child. It says that he took a child of one of his servants. So the people that worked for Terah, one of the people that worked for Terah had born a son, and Terah took that son and presented him to the king as Abram. And the king basically took the child, thinking that this thing right here is going to ruin me. And he went on the floor, and the child's skull basically, and the child died, which is so sad and unfortunate. Like, it is not nice at all. But the word says that the Lord was with him in this matter, because the Lord wanted to preserve Abram alive for the purpose that he had for him. So the Lord was on Terah's side basically with this decision. And after Nimrod the king saw that this child, who he thought it was Abram, but it wasn't Abram, when he saw the child was dead, he basically forgot about the whole matter, as well as all the people, the conjurers, the soothsayers, the sages, the people that actually came up with this idea to the king. They thought that the child was dead, so they just forgot about it. So that is Jasher chapter 8. I'm going to continue with Jasher chapter 9 now. And Haran The son of Terah, Abraham's oldest brother, took a woman in those days. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the woman of Haran conceived and had borne a son, and he called his name Lot. And she conceived and bore a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bore a daughter, and she called her name Sarai. Haran was 42 years when he begat Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And in those days, Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave. So the brother of Terah now had two daughters. The first one was Milcah, the second one was Sarai. And when Sarai was born, Abram was 10 years, and that is when Abram went out of the cave with the mother and the nurse, when Abram was 10 years and when Sarai was born. As the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram, and when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instructions of the Lord and his ways. And no man knew where Abram was, and Abram served Noah and Shem his son for a long time. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem has taught him. And all the sons of the earth in all those days greatly transgressed against the Lord, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Lord who created them in the earth. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at the time every man his gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their gods. And the king and all his servants and Terah with all his household were the first of those that served gods of wood and stone. And Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year, and he served each one monthly. And every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his gods. Thus Terah did all his days. So therefore it says that after the 10 years, Abraham was actually sent. How beautiful this is, guys, to Noah. Abram was sent to Noah at 10 years old, and at the time Noah was still staying with his son Shem. And basically Abraham went to stay with Noah and his son Shem, and Noah was teaching Abraham the ways of the Lord, the fear of the Lord, how the Lord works and everything like that. And as well as Shem, right? And it says that Noah actually knew the Lord from 3 years until, not Noah, but Abraham knew the Lord from 3 years until he died, basically all his life, all his entire life, but basically under the shelter, under the house of Noah. Abram was learning the ways of the Lord from both Shem and Noah. But also now it says that, of course, human beings on the earth were transgressing the law of the Lord. They were transgressing against God. They have their own little gods made of wood and stone. They served gods of the months, January, February, one god per month. That is Terah, actually, who had like 12 gods for each month, the father of Abram. And they served gods that couldn't talk, that couldn't deliver them from hardship, that couldn't eat even the things that they put there in front of them. So basically they were just rebelling against the Lord. So that was the situation of the time. So I'm going to now continue reading from verse I'm going to continue and read from verse 9. And all the generation were wicked in the sight of the Lord, and they thus made every man his Elohim, but they forsook the Lord who had created them. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew the Lord, for they served each man his own God, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew the Lord in those days. And Abram, son of Terah, was waxing great in those days in the house of Noah, and no man knew it. And the Lord was with him. And the Lord gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that great generation were vain, and that all their Elohims were vain, and they were of no avail. And Abram saw the sun shining upon the earth, and Abram said to himself, surely now the sun that shines upon the earth is Elohim, it's God, and him I will serve. And Abram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him. And when evening came, the sun set as usual, and Abram said within himself, surely this cannot be God. And Abram still continued to speak within himself, who is he who made the heavens and the earth, who created upon the earth? Where is he? And that night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes towards the west, north, south, and east, and he saw that the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. And Abram saw the stars and moon before him, and he said, surely this is God who created the whole earth as well as man. And behold, these his servants are gods around him. And Abram served the moon and prayed to it all that night. And in the morning, when it was light, the sun shone upon the earth as usual. Abram saw all these things that the Lord God had made upon earth. And Abram said unto himself, surely these are not gods that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of God. And Abram remained in the house of Noah, and they knew the Lord in his ways, and served the Lord all the days of his life. And all the generation forgot the Lord, and served other gods of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days. So therefore it was just reiterated how basically everyone just had their own gods and doing their own thing, except for those who were under the shelter or the house of Noah, of which Abram, remember, was also in that house at the time. Only them knew God, the Lord God Almighty, the Most High Yahweh, and only them knew his ways, and it's only them who were not actually rebelling by worshipping other gods. So therefore now it says that the Lord was with Abram, and the Lord blessed him, and he became great as he was growing under that roof. And people did not know, people just did not know what was up with Abram or whatever, but he was just growing great. And so it says that the Lord gave him a heart of questioning. So he was questioning, who is God? Where is he? And who created everything that I'm seeing now, and all of these things. And while he was pondering upon that, he saw the sun, and he was like, surely this is God, surely this is God. And then he started worshiping the sun. And then when the sun set, there was moon. And he was like, no, man, that was definitely not the God. I mean, if it was God, then where is he now? And then he saw the moon, and he saw the stars, and it's like, okay, the moon is God, and the stars are the gods that actually serve the main God. But then it became sun again, and he was like, that cannot be God, because then where is the moon and the stars? And then he essentially just established in his heart that, what, the sun, the stars, everything that I see, they have a God who created them, who rules above them, and that is the creator, and that is God. So it also says that Noah understood that everything that these people were doing of worshiping other gods and everything, it was vain, because those gods, they couldn't speak, they couldn't deliver, they couldn't do anything. So he knew that, no, man, this thing that they're doing is just a waste of time. They're just wasting their time, their efforts, and their provision of the time, But essentially it says that after that, Noah, when he established that, what, the God who created the heavens, the sun and the moon, the stars, is the God of the world, and it is the God that Noah is teaching me about, and teaching me about his ways. That's the God that is above all things. That is God, the creator. And therefore it says that Abram actually was the it says that Abraham, under the roof of Noah, continued to serve the Lord all the days of his life, and everybody else was basically just following their own gods. So therefore, I'm going to go now to the book of Genesis. I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 11 verse 9. In the previous video I did cover Genesis chapter 11, but it so happens that the next part that I'm going to read in Jasher, it correlates with Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 to 9. So I'm just going to go back and read it quickly so that we can come back and continue with Jasher chapter 9. Genesis 11. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they began to do. Now nothing they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down. And they confused their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, which the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. So therefore that little snippet of Genesis 11 is talking about the Tower of Babel and how it came to be. We did talk about it in the previous video. I just wanted to go there and so I'm going to continue now in Joshua chapter 9, and I'm going to continue from verse 20. And the king Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control, and all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, Put, Mizraim, Cush, and Canaan with their families. And they said to each other, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole earth, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words, and the king agreed with them in the affair, and he did so. Right. So there were people who came to Nimrod the king. They were great men, Put, Mizraim, Cush, and Canaan, and their families, and they said, King, I think we should build a tower. Hear us out. We want to build a tower. This tower is going to make sure that first of all we get famous. Secondly, we are strong. We are so strong that even the wars of the people who would want to come and make war with us, they will be scared of us. So for the respect, for the fame, and for the fact that they do not want to be scattered abroad on account of wars. So the king heard this, and he was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm going to now read from verse 22. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words, and the king agreed with them in the affair, and he did so. And all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower, and they sought it in the whole earth, and they found none, like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk, and they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. And they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin. And they began to build it, and while they were building against the Lord God of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. All these people and all their families themselves divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And God knew all their works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building. So, about 600,000 men went and looked for a place, a land, and they found this plain called Shinar. It says it's a 2 days journey, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they saw a valley, it had a lot of space, and they were like, perfect, this is the place that we're going to do this. So therefore, they were so adamant that they were going to complete this assignment. So what they did was they started making bricks and whatnot. But this was a sin and a transgression against the Lord God of heaven, because one thing about God, he gave us earth, man. Like, we're made from soil, so therefore we're supposed to be here. This is our territory. As soon as you rise up as a human being made of soil, like a flesh, or a creation that was just subject to this, to this area over here, down here, as you start rising up to a certain level, because I believe that the Lord has levels as well, because for example, the president of the country is not like at the same level as me, a person who's just living and is employed and stuff like that. So he has a certain region from earth in where human beings are supposed to, there's a cap basically that he put. But as soon as human beings want to cross over, it means that you're now going to the celestial, heavenly, where you're not supposed to be. We are terrestrial, we're from the soil, right? The terra firma. So yeah, that was a sin against the Lord, and also because of what they wanted to do. Did you hear that? These people are so weird. I don't think they know God, because like, how do you think that you're going to actually be able to kill God with a spear and an arrow made by man? Anyway, so another thing that was a huge sin is that they wanted to, first of all, they divided themselves in three. In the first set of people wanted to, it says that they wanted to, they said they will ascend into heaven and fight against God, right? The second said they will ascend into heaven and place their own God in the place of God. So where he sits on the throne, they're gonna remove him and put their little statues made of wood and stone. How ridiculous. And the third thing that they thought they wanted to do was so they wanted to actually go and start smiting him with bows and spears. And it says here, God knew all of their thoughts and saw that they were building this tower. So now I'm going to continue from verse 27. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower. And on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their extent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year, and after that they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily, and behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. And if a brick would fall from their hands and get broken, they would weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. And the Lord knew their thoughts, and it came to pass when they were building, they cast arrows towards heaven, and all the arrows fell upon them filled with blood. And when they saw this, they said to each other, surely we've slain all those that are in heaven. So basically, they were so high up that for one person to take like a break to where they are at the top, it took 1 whole year. 1 whole year. So every day there would be a set of people going up. So that means every day there would be bricks coming in and mortar coming in. So every day they were building, right? And it says that the way they were working so tirelessly, if you had a brick and maybe you were halfway and then it fell, they literally cried over that brick. And if maybe someone slipped and they fell and they died, it was like, it's none of my business. What I need to do is get what I have in my hands there. So they did not care if anyone slipped and died and all of those things. But it also says that the Lord saw what they were doing, like he saw everything, and that when they reached a certain level, they did take their spears and their bows and they started darting like in the heavens, in the heavens where they were. And what happened was, when the arrows fell down, they had blood on it. So they thought that, yeah, surely we have killed everyone in heaven. Anyways, so I'm gonna now continue from verse 13. For this was from the Lord, in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And God said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, Come, let us descend and confuse their languages, that one man should not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day following, they forgot each other's neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one language, in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And the Lord smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. These who said, We will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, because like apes and our gods became like apes and elephants. And those who said, We will smite the heavens with arrows, the Lord killed them, and one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the 3rd division of those who said, We will ascend to heaven and fight against them, the Lord scattered them throughout the earth. Okay, so now it says here that the thing that happened when this and the arrows came with blood, it was all God's plan, because he wanted to cause them to err, right? And then when the Lord saw that these people are doing this thing tirelessly for years and years and years, every day for years, the Lord basically spoke to the 70 angels that are closest to him, so the archangels and the rest of them that are most closest to him, and said, you know what, let us go down and confuse these people's language, so that when they start communicating with each other, they cannot hear each other, what the other is saying. And indeed they did that, and they descended, and everybody forgot their own language. And it so happened that if someone had lime and said take, and the other one is like, this is the wrong lime, the other side would be like, utini, this is the wrong lime, utini. You know, it's 2 different languages, so they don't get each other, to a point where the person with the lime would be frustrated and just throw it at the person, and the person will just die, because like, what are you saying? Like, you're frustrating me, right? And then so basically some of them killed each other, but it says that the Lord actually judged them according to their 3 sects. Remember, there were 3 sects. They had their own basic plan, I guess. So the first sect, who said they will ascend into heaven and serve other gods, it says here that they became like apes and elephants. I don't know what that means. Maybe they had the mind of an ape, where they were an animal. They were like animals, just like that king, was it Nebuchadnezzar, who basically became like an animal living in the fields and whatnot. And or maybe they became literal apes and literal elephants, because God is able to do that too, you know. And then the second sect, who said, We will smite the heaven with arrows. Those the Lord killed, but he killed them at the hand of their neighbor, like they killed each other basically. And the 3rd sect, who said, We'll ascend to heaven and fight against the Lord, those were scattered all over the earth. So it's those who couldn't understand each other, and then they were like, you know what, as we can understand each other, let's go there. As we can understand each other, let's go there. And then they scattered all over. So I'm going to continue now from verse 36. The Lord is good, guys. And those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called that place Babel, for the Lord confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the east of the land of Shinar, as And as to the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof, and a fire also descended from heaven and burnt another third, and the other third is left to this day, and it is of that part which was aloft. And its circumference is 3 days' walk, and many of the sons of men died in the tower, a people without number. So that is the end of Jasher chapter 9 and the end of the video. Next time I'm going to continue from Jasher chapter 10. So basically, it says that amongst those who are seeing these things happening, some people are not understanding each other. Some people are turning into elephants and apes. Some people are just basically killing each other. And others were like, yay, okay, let us stop and let us leave. So they also became scattered among the nations. And then it says of the tower that was built, right? You know, I love reading these extra biblical texts because they give you context to other questions. Because if there's a tower that could reach earth like that, could it be that from every point of the earth where you are, when you look somewhere, you would see it? Because if it reached that height, it means that it could be seen almost like the clouds, basically, which you can see from, you know, from all angles. But because these extra biblical books give details, we now know what happened to the tower. And now when I'm in South Africa, where I am right now, I cannot see the Tower of Babel. The people in the Middle East cannot see the Tower of Babel, at least not from where they are, right? Maybe there are people who can see it, but it's just like an average height. But I'm just saying, like, there are people who basically can't see it, and people from other continents can't see it. Even the continents that are next to maybe the plain of China, they can't see it. It's like a normal building or a normal height. And here is the explanation why. It says here that 1/3 of the tower, right? God opened up the earth, it basically sank in, and 2/3 were left aloft, like on earth, on the surface. And then the other third that was on the top, it was burnt. So the Lord burnt it, right? And therefore, there's just the third that was in the middle that is on the surface today. And it says that the way it is so big, the circumference of it, just to round it once, it takes a year. 3 days walk. Sorry, a year is too long. 3 days walk. 3 days walk. So all glory goes to the Most High God. Like, this information, I don't know, it is like I don't know, it is like a dessert to me. It is like something sweet, something extra on top there, like a cake that can go down, you know, after having a meal. I love it. I love it. So yeah, that's the end. That's the end. So therefore, thank you so much for watching. Like I said in the beginning of the video, in my description box there's 2 links. The first one is a link to my backup page, which is on Brigteon, as well as the first videos where I was starting at Genesis 1 and Jasher 1. Those are not available on this channel because they were deleted with a previous channel where I used to post them on YouTube. And then there's another link to, if you're interested in reading the extra biblical text of the Apocrypha yourself, then you can purchase that Apocryphal book from Amazon. The link is in the description. And therefore, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. May the Lord keep you and bless you. May he cause his face to shine upon you. May he be gracious unto you. May he shine his countenance upon you and give you peace. Goodbye, goodbye, and goodbye.